Well, hello and welcome back to the segment called Open Book. My name is John Gray. I am a journalist and an author in Albany, New York. But wherever you're watching this from, doesn't matter because we like to talk to authors here. And we have authors from all over the country who come on this show. And we have all kinds of authors. We've had authors on who write historical books that are based on nothing but facts. We've had people who write suspense novels. We've had children's authors. We've had a little bit of everything. Even some cookbooks are coming on the show. But today we're going to talk to well, it's interesting. I want to say a children's author, but he's really more than that. Our guest, I'm going to bring him in right now. Let's see. We'll bring you on right here. This is Gene Walden. Gene, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, John.
And as you can see, between us is the book Matchup at Adventureland Golf by Gene Walden. Again, the epic quest of two fearless boys. That is you might have the record for the longest title on here. Before we get to the children's book, tell us a little bit about you, Gene. Where are you from? Where are you right now as you talk to me? Are you on the West Coast?
No, I live in Minneapolis. I'm originally from Indianapolis.
Okay.
I went to Indiana University. Was a journalism major there, and I started out my career writing for newspapers in Richmond and South Bend, Indiana. And ultimately, I got a job with the Minneapolis Star and moved to Minnesota. And that's many years ago. And I'm now in Minneapolis still. And I've written 30 books in addition to all the newspaper reporting. And I've been a columnist for a number of publications, including the Minneapolis Star Tribune and Investors Business Daily. I've contributed to the Wall Street Journal. So my background is as a reporter, and ultimately I started to specialize in financial and investment writing, personal finance, that type of thing.
When did that happen? In Minneapolis when you were just were you like a beat reporter covering a lot of stuff, or did you always gravitate towards financial stuff?
Well, no, I used to wonder why anybody would cover financial stuff. I thought this was really boring. I covered mostly politics, police, fire, celebrities, did some sports reporting. I covered the Vikings for a little while. I covered the Timberwolves for a little while. So I've got a background kind of across the board in the journalism world.
So when you started working on financial stuff, did you stay in Minnesota, or did you go to New York City to be closer to Wall Street in that world?
Actually, I stayed in Minnesota. The first book I wrote on personal finance, I guess I was a columnist first. A publication, weekly publication I was working for said, "Hey, we need a investment column." And I said, "Well, I don't know anything about it, but I should probably learn." So I started writing this investment column. And from that point, I saw a lot of investment books. I thought they were all boring. Mm-hmm. And I teamed up with a guy who lived in Minneapolis, but he wrote the securities training course for all brokers across the country. And that was the first book I wrote. And yes, from that point on, I was primarily personal finance. I wrote a number of books like The 100 Best Stocks to Own in America. That was out in 7 editions, and they were all bestsellers. And then
wow.
Spin-offs from that, like The 100 Best Mutual Funds to Own in America, The 100 Best Stocks to Own in the World, The 100 Best Small Stocks, that kind of thing. So that's what I did to pay the bills.
Now, when you start writing those books, do you get the idea like, hey, this would be a good book, let me pitch this to publishers or pitch it to agents? Or how did you get from the idea at your desk at home or at work to getting this that first book out there or the many books out there that came after?
That's a good question, because I tried for years to get a book published, and a lot of writers can relate to that. That's why ultimately I teamed up with the person who was a nationally recognized expert in the area of stockbrokers. The book was called Winning with Your Stockbroker in Good Times and Bad. That was the first one. And so that's how I got through the door in publishing. But the book it didn't sell much, but it was critically acclaimed. The New York Times had it listed at the top of their books on the best business finance books of the year. And so the publisher said, well, we'd like you to try another book. And what they wanted me to write was something on companies with the best perks, the 100 best perks that they offer to shareholders. And these would be like bags of goodies or something from Bristol
Sure.
Myers. And I thought, that's a good idea, but I think I'd rather just write the best stocks to own in America and have the perks as kind of the last little bit of part of it. And yeah, that hit and it sold hundreds of thousands of copies throughout the 1990s. But once the internet came along and people were able to get faster access to information about stocks and that sort of thing, it was really an uphill battle. So I kind of discontinued that and went on with other things.
Yeah, I was going to say it's tougher now. Back 30 years ago, people would have to go to a store, buy the book to have the information. Now it's almost like a music artist where somebody could scan your book and upload it for free, even if it's illegal, and people are getting all your stuff, but you're not getting paid for it, right?
Right. Yeah. So I had to reinvent myself.
Did this support you full time, the writing, or were you still doing a regular job to pay the light bill and all that good stuff?
Well, while I was writing books, I was putting them out at a rate of one or two a year. And when the market was good, they sold great. When the market was down, which was the best time to buy, they didn't sell so well. But
Hmm.
I was able my wife worked and we had two kids and we got them through college. And so that, yeah, I was never rich, but, you know, got the job done.
No, and there's still a joy of walking into a bookstore and seeing your face on the back cover or seeing your title somewhere, even especially if it's an unexpected place, or
Right.
somebody messages you, say, "Hey, Gene, I was in Hawaii at at the airport, and I saw your book on this kiosk." It for those who've never had a book published, you get paid in different ways, even if it's not money, right?
Oh yeah, I mean it's fun when you run into somebody who has your book. A bartender at a place I used to go mentioned that he had it, and you run into people from time to time. It's like, you wrote that, so yeah, it's very satisfying.
How much research had to go into those books? Was it, some authors take a long time to put a book out. It sounded like you were talking about a couple of years. So was it quick research and you turned it right around?
Well, it was like the 100 best stocks to own in America. That was 400 pages, so about four pages on each of the 100 companies. And yeah, I had to do a lot of research. Had to crunch a lot of numbers. I mean, I got them out in about a year, but it was a lot of all-nighters or
Sure.
till 3 in the morning, that type of thing.
Absolutely. And as I talk with every author on here, Gene, it's very similar with musical artists or actors who make a movie. I'm sure Spielberg would say the same thing. You never know. The one you think is going to be the home run falls flat. The one you said, well, this one was fun to write, but I didn't think it'd go anywhere. Suddenly it clicks. You just don't know what's going to click with people, do you?
No, no. I had a pretty good feeling about the 100 best stocks, but I mean, you're working by yourself. You're completely encapsulated from the world, and so you don't know what's going to happen. I'd written a book before, but I'd never written a bestseller, and yeah, it was wonderful when it actually happened because I put so much into it and I believed in it. But you're right, you just never know.
No. All right, I'm watching the clock. I'm going to take our first break here. We'll come back with Gene Walden and talk about a real departure for you, a children's book. We'll have more with Gene after this short break. All right, welcome back. We're with our author, Gene Walden. The book is a matchup of at Adventureland Golf, the epic quest of two fearless boys. So where does this book come from? If you're doing all these financial books, all of a sudden, like, did you wake up one day and say, I got to do a children's book for my kids? Or was it a story you wanted to tell? Walk me through how this even comes into your head.
Yeah, there were a couple converging points in my life. I decided I wanted something that would last past the next market cycle. I mean, all the articles and books I've written have a very short window, and people say, "Well, can I still buy your book?" Maybe you could, but it's too old to be of any value. And
Sure.
I've done a lot of financial writing on stocks and bonds and whatnot. It's great for tomorrow, but the next week it's a garbage wrapper. So I really wanted to do something that would last maybe beyond my time here. And I was playing golf in Estes Park, Colorado. Um, Beautiful setting, hundreds of elk, massive herd of elk just wandering the course.
Hmm.
Um, Very friendly. They would sit there and watch you putt out right on the edge of the green,
Wow.
and I was looking at the scenery and the elk in front of me, and there were snow-capped mountains in the background and all these animals, and I thought, wow, what a great idea for a children's book to have two kids playing a tournament through all these animals, through beautiful scenery. And that was a little over 5 years ago. And so I kind of got it in my mind at that
Hmm.
time. And 5 years later, this rolls off the press.
Yeah, I'll tell you a brief story. I'm buddies a little bit with Greg McGuire, who wrote the book Wicked, which
Oh,
of
yeah.
course became. He's from the Albany area, and he was in London struggling to come up with something for a book. And there was a horrific crime where a kid just one day, instead of going to school, went to a mall, kidnapped a little kid, and killed the kid. And everybody was just reacting awfully. And he just thought, how does that make sense? He goes, how do you just go from this to how does he become wicked like that? And of
Yeah.
course, and then his mind went to Dorothy, and we never really got the backstory about why she was the Wicked Witch of the West. So for authors, sometimes for you it was elk on a golf course. You just don't know where an idea is going to come from, And do you find where you get ideas, they get filed away, and you put them away because you don't know how you're going to use them, but someday you might pull it out and say, I could use this now for the story.
Right. Yeah. It was 2 or 3 years before I actually had a chance to start working on that book. But once I had enough money socked away from working full time, I just said I've got to work on this book. I have to get it done, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
And what's the story basically? Two boys together, and they're not just. Is it a golf course or a miniature golf course? And is it they encounter all kinds of mayhem, right, to try to get through their game?
Right. Yeah, it's two boys playing in the Adventureland Golf Tournament. It's for they're playing for the ice cream trophy. The best. These are the best of the East and the best of the West. They've never met. They don't really like each other when they first meet, though it's just because they're toddlers and they're competing. I think, um, but over the course of the tournament, from hole to hole, they find common ground. They kind of have their argument, they get it out, and then they realize they both love golf, and each hole is it's a full-fledged course, but each hole is a different setting in a different part of the world. So they play through up or down mountains, they play across
Wow.
deserts, they play through a cave, they play through dinosaurs, they play on the moon. They meet these three guys on one hole who look very similar to Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and Tiger Woods, so they get a little bit of celebrity in there. So it's a true adventure book, and lions, tigers, giraffes, zebras, elephants, um, and they have to play through all of it. It's an adventure, but it's also a golf book.
After writing, I mean, I would think with financial books, you're coloring way inside the lines. You got to keep Gene's opinion out of things.
Yeah.
You got to stick with the facts. You can't say, well, I don't know why. All the indications are you shouldn't buy Kodak, but I just like it, so you should buy Kodak. You can't
No,
do that. But here, you could say, well, it's just me. I'm just writing the story. There's no rules. If I want to put a giraffe here or an alligator in the story, I can do it. That must have been fun for you.
yeah, there were no rules. That's what I kept saying. No rules. think outside the box. And how do they get from the desert to the mountain? How do they get to the moon and back? We don't know. We don't care.
No.
It's fiction. It's kids, and they just show up. They're finished. They putt out on the green on one hole, and next thing you know, they're across the world. There's crocodiles. I mean, every kind of dangerous animal, bulls that you can think of. I tried to incorporate into the 18 holes.
Well, it reminds you of two things. One, it's got a Jumanji feel about it, that movie with where things just start coming out of the game and anything could happen, which makes you want to turn the next page because anything could happen. And secondly, it just the freedom you have to do this, where you could just have fun. It's almost like a dream, Gene, where if you think about the dreams we have, you say you're telling your spouse, you go, "Oh, we were at that place we like to eat." And then we open a door and we were in Cape Cod. And you go, well, that makes no sense. You go, I know, but it was a dream. So in dreams, the rules don't apply. You must have felt that way writing this book.
Yeah, I think Jumanji is a good example. I think of it as kind of a cross between Dr. Seuss and Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But Jumanji is right in there too. And this Dr. Seuss, by the way, it's all in rhyme. My whole book is entirely in rhyme, so it's that was a new challenge as well. I don't think I'd ever written a poem before, but I thought, man, if I can take complex investment concepts, market concepts, and make that readable and applicable to readers, I can do anything. And so I just took it on as another challenge, and that was probably the most fun aspect of writing this book, because once you get into it, you think in rhymes, you dream in rhymes, you talk in rhymes, you kind of bug your friends because you're always rhyming. But that's you sort of get into that mood, into that mode, and I stayed that way for about 3 or 4 months until that part of it was done.
Did you find, I found this with me, and I think some other authors have, I know Aaron Sorkin's talked about this when he writes scripts. You can write something and then say, it's good. I know great is hiding on the edges here, and I just can't will it. But you know what? I'm going to leave it. I worked a couple hours, say I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go do, and you could be chopping carrots, or you could be walking along the river, and part of your brain's going, Gene, don't worry about it. You go chop. I'm going to keep working on this because you're right. Great's right around. It's hiding behind the bushes, and then bam, it'll just come to you, and you'll go, that's what it needed, and you'll go back, and now you can. Did you find that with this a little bit, where it wasn't always just the first draft, but as you worked on it, things came to you?
Well, constantly, and particularly with the illustrations. I mean, the story kind of. I was pretty happy with the story, but I would work for a week on a particular illustration, maybe it's elephants, something like that, and I'd love it. And then 6 months later, because it took me 2 years to do this, I'd look at it again and, yeah, it's pretty good, but man, it needs this, 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 and this. And so I redid all of these illustrations, every one of them, at least once, sometimes 2 or 3 times.
I get the feeling that's an artistic thing. If Michelangelo could come back, he'd look at the Sistine Chapel and say, "Oh my God, what was I thinking there?
Yeah,
we got too much of this, and we need more of this over there." I'm watching the clock. We got to take our second break. Come back with our final segment with our author. I'm enjoying this conversation with Gene Walden. More on the matchup at Adventureland Golf after this. All right, back with our final segment with our author, Gene Walden. And again, you've written, how many books have you written now? This is a children's book, about dozens of the other books?
30, roughly
wow.
30. Yeah.
Wow. Have you got a shelf at home with them all lined up? You got them all saved somewhere?
Right above my head, yes. Everyone.
Got you. Did you ever think when you were, a kid, younger, you'd be an author with all these books, or is it like a happy accident that all this happened for you?
I always wanted to be a writer. I mean, I was on the junior high school newspaper and the high school newspaper and the college newspaper and went right into journalism. And the road to journalism, I thought, was what was going to get me to becoming an author. So even as a little kid,
Sure.
that was sort of my ultimate dream. But my ultimate dream was never writing investment books, financial books, how to, that kind of thing. I always kind of wanted to be, well, fiction book author, right? Books of fiction, but it's so difficult, and the competition is incredible, and the work that's out there is also incredible. Some
Sure.
amazing writers, and so I don't think they really need me in that genre. But I loved doing this children's picture book, and that to
Hmm.
me is that's fulfilling, kind of fulfills my life's quest, and so how it will do, I don't know. It's done pretty well so far. We're just getting it out there,
Yeah.
but I'm happy with it, and I'm happy I did it.
How is it you're able to write and draw and you're doing this illustration yourself? That's totally different. I mean, talk about having two clubs in your bag, to use the metaphor of the golf. That's like having a tennis racket and a 5-iron. I mean, they're so different. Is this something you've always been able to do, to draw since you were little?
No, it's kind of like the rhyming. I had never written a poem before I wrote this book, and I'd really never painted or drawn a setting like trees, grass, clouds, that kind of thing, boys. Um, but I did have a good background in graphics. I've built a lot of websites for different companies, and I've done brochures in the past. So I've got that. I've even done some animations, and I thought I could do it. And I've also worked with a lot of artists, and they're kind of like writers. They have an ego, and it's hard to work with them because I had very specific requirements for what I wanted and how to accompany the words in this book. And so I just decided I better figure out how to do it. And so I worked on it. I kind of combine photography that I turn into animations with my own original settings and drawings. And um, after working on it for 2 or 3 months, I decided I would start showing it to some people. And the response every single time, without exception, the first question was, "Wow, who did your pictures?" And so when I got that, I thought, okay, I guess I've got it.
Yeah.
People love the pictures, so I just developed my own style, very different from anything else I've seen. Um, and Yeah, it was fun, but it was tedious.
I know from doing my own children's books, and I didn't do them. I had a publisher fronting the money to do them, but every page, every color, everything costs money
Yeah,
to
that
produce it.
too.
And this is not like an 8-page or 12-page book. Talk about how long it is. Was that a hurdle to get over with a publisher to say, did they come back to you and say, it's how many pages, Gene? You're trying to kill us here.
Um, Well, I've always had publishers in the past for all my books. In this case, I specifically wanted to do it myself so I would have full control of it.
Right.
I don't really need the credibility of having, a major publisher doing it. And so, yeah, that was very important to me. Costs a lot more that way. I don't get
Sure.
paid, don't get the advance. I have to pay for the printing and publishing. And man, there's a lot to the self-publishing, but
Yeah.
yeah, the book's like we said, 145 pages and 120 illustrations over 2 years to complete. And I don't know that any other human being has ever done something quite like this. And I can tell you, I didn't intend to, and I would never do it again, and I would never recommend it. But it's where the book took me. 18 holes, and every hole
Hmm.
required 3 or 4 pages to develop the adventure on that particular hole. If I had it to do again, probably try to make it shorter, but it's an epic adventure. So it is what it is.
Yeah, you try not to strangle people. I had a novel come out last April, so it'll be coming up on a year, and it's probably my best work. It's probably the most well received, but people who really liked it were like, "Oh, you should write a sequel right now." It's like they don't understand that. Now I wasn't doing illustration. I was writing a story, but I'm like, yeah, that was about 15 months of my life
Yeah.
writing part-time on top of my full-time job. So when you say, yeah, that was good, give me another one, it's like you're going, you guys don't understand.
Right.
It's exciting, but it's daunting to start out. And at any point of this, were you like wishing that golf was 9 holes, not 18, you could have been done? Or were you just, as you plowed through it, saying, no, this is good, keep going, keep going?
I really had those thoughts, like, why didn't I make this 9 holes? But by that time, I was probably on hole 13 or 14, and I had it laid out through 18, and I liked the adventures and the animals on every single hole.
Yeah,
I thought, well, they're all good, and it is a book. And books can be long, so I convinced myself to, just keep going with it. Again, I don't know if I would do it that way again or not because it's long, but we'll just see how it works out. I mean, if people love it at this length, then maybe I did it right.
yeah. You never know until it gets out there. Is this a one and done for you with children's books, or did you get the itch now? You want to do something else down the road?
Well, I already have another book that's more or less finished called When Teacher Suzuki Says Ninky, completely different, but it's animated as well and it
Yeah.
rhymes. And I've written the book and I've also put the animation, it's fully animated with narration and music and sound effects on my website. Uh, and so if anybody wanted to watch it, they could go there and watch it for free. But eventually that one will be the next one. I wanted to do it because it's short and sweet and 20 pages or so, just to get something out there that could be inexpensive to purchase and then maybe I'll do a follow up to match up. We'll see.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We're almost out of time. Where can people find this book, Gene?
Well, it's available anywhere, Amazon, any bookstore. Even if they don't carry it, they can order it for you.
Sure.
I have a website where you can buy it. It's spinspeedbooks.com. And yeah, that's again, Amazon may be the best place to go.
And for parents out there, what age group is this good for? And I'm assuming it has a happy ending.
Yes. I'd say age 4 through about age 10 is probably the focus. But I've seen a lot of adults, golfers, who see it and want it immediately. Grown up golfers love it.
Sure.
And the ending is I mean, the kids become best friends over the course of this, but they still have to figure out who's going to win this thing or how it's going to end. And so
Yeah.
it's a twist, it's a surprise ending. And I've seen grown men and women choke up as they read the final page or two. So it's a great
Oh, that's great. Well, it sounds like a wonderful book. And Gene Walden, we appreciate you coming on the show today. Much success with this. I hope it does really, really well for you. Boy, over 100 pages, 2 years of work. That's a lot of work you put into this. You should be proud of what you produced.
Yeah, John, thank you very much for having me.
All right. And that'll do it for us here on Open Book. My name is John Gray. We appreciate you being here. And as I say all the time, whatever you read, please keep reading.